Welcome to Earthenkind Quests. My name is Mike. In this episode of Nemesis Battles, 3 heroes face a challenge with a celestial entity known as a planetar. An eldritch knight fighter, a light domain cleric, and a Path of the Wildheart barbarian all are at level 9 using the rules in the 2024 Player's Handbook of Dungeons & Dragons. They want to rescue their friends from captivity in the fiery domain of an Arch Fiend. As the first part of their quest, the 3 heroes must undergo a challenge with a planetar, presented as a challenge rating 16 creature in the 2025 Monster Manual. I will clarify what happens with the game mechanics and the story narrative while demonstrating in the 3D world builder and virtual tabletop system of RPG stories. For extra details about the characters, in the video text description, you can find the web links for the level 9 character sheets in D&D Beyond. Today at the Spellsword Academy, 3 heroic adventurers are among the very few people who survived here after a fiendish invasion. The wood elf eldritch knight fighter is named Eldritch. She is a quick-moving melee combatant known for her mobility and flurry of weapon attacks. The human light domain cleric is named Clara Cloudburn. She combines her divine healing and support magic with her damage-dealing spells and combat features. The human Path of the Wildheart barbarian is named Anna Maul. In most situations, she relies on her strength, combined with her barbarian rage, great weapon master feat, and her maul. The Spellsword Academy is in ruins, and the future is uncertain. A warlock led an attack with a group of fiends. The warlock escaped. Meanwhile, a fiendish purple worm destroyed the Academy campus and then burrowed away to find its next place to destroy. The defenders at the Academy managed to defeat the Hellhounds and the fiendish ogres of the invading attack team. During the battle, the heroes lost 2 of their allies, namely the Bladesinger wizard Salamunglo and the Oath of Devotion paladin Vonanavan. The Bladesinger and the Devotion paladin were inflicted with a hellbound curse that transported them into the fiery domain of the Arch Fiend, who orchestrated the invasion attack. The Eldritch Knight Fighter, the Light Domain Cleric, and the Path of the Wildheart Barbarian consider what to do next. The Spellsword Academy will need considerable time to rebuild. Perhaps it never will be rebuilt. The Bladesinger Wizard was the leader and director of the Academy, but now she is gone, trapped in the domain of the Archfiend, along with the Oath of Devotion Paladin. The 3 heroes decide that their top priority right now is to rescue their friends from their hellish imprisonment. The Eldritch Knight Fighter, Eldritch, warns that this quest will be more challenging than what happened here with the fiendish invasion at the Spellsword Academy. As part of her preparation for this quest, Eldritch recognizes that she needs to improve her ranged combat potential. She completes a long rest, and she retrains her weapon mastery with a sling instead to learn the weapon mastery of a short bow. Easily enough, she can find a short bow and a quiver of arrows among the wreckage of the Spellsword Academy campus. The Path of the Wildheart barbarian, Anna Maul, asks how the team possibly could travel from this mortal world into the domain of the Arch Fiend. Even if this travel could be possible, then how could the group return back into the mortal realm? The light domain cleric, Clara Cloudburn, knows about a holy relic that could make their quest possible. According to the ancient religious texts, a celestial angel guards a divine silver bell that can be sounded for granting passage safely into any of the hellish domains. The silver bell can be sounded once again to make the return trip, and then the bell will be broken. Clara Cloudburn remembers the legends about where to find this celestial guardian at a gateway that stands between the mortal realm and the celestial heavens. After a long journey, the 3 heroes arrive at this wondrous place, made of clouds and luminous radiance. Celestial warriors guard the gateway into their heavenly domain. Standing farther outside the gateway, a single divine warrior welcomes the 3 heroes and calls them by their names. This divine creature is a planetar named Saint Casca. Centuries ago, Saint Casca was tasked with guarding a set of 3 divine silver bells at this location. The planetar knows that these 3 heroes come with a noble purpose of a quest to rescue their 2 friends from the domain of the Arch Fiend. Now Saint Casca asks if Eldritch, Clara Cloudburn, and Anna Maul can prove that they are indeed capable of succeeding with this quest. If they can prove their capability, then the planetar will provide the divine silver bell, as was mentioned in the ancient religious texts. The Eldritch Knight Fighter, the Light Domain Cleric, and the Path of the Wildheart Barbarian are not sure how they can prove their capacity to complete their quest. In fact, they begin to doubt their abilities. Their thoughts circle around all of their mistakes that may have contributed to the loss of their two friends during the battle at the Spellsword Academy. If only they could have acted differently, then their two friends might not have been taken away with the hellbound curse. Saint Casca announces that if the three heroes can defeat her in combat, then they might be capable of accomplishing their quest in the domain of the Arch Fiend. If they cannot defeat the planetar here during a controlled encounter, then they cannot possibly hope to succeed with their quest inside a truly hostile environment. The three heroes feel uneasy about entering into combat with a celestial being. The planetar, Saint Casca, notes that she cannot die here outside the celestial gate. The characters do not need to worry about harming her. Furthermore, she and the other divine entities will ensure that everyone here will be healed and revived from any harm that may happen. The light cleric, Cleric Cloudburn, knows that Saint Casca must be speaking the truth, as all planetars are bound to do so. At the celestial gate, the other planetars silently nod with their approval. The combat participants roll for initiative. The Eldritch Knight Fighter rolls 29. The Light Domain Cleric rolls 9. The Wildheart Barbarian rolls with advantage due to her Feral Instinct feature, resulting in 20. The planetar, Saint Casca, rolls 22. The Eldritch Knight and the Barbarian both are equipped with the Alert feat. They both could swap their initiative rolls with someone else. The Eldritch Knight wants to swap with the Barbarian. Now the Barbarian will act first, followed by the planetar, then the Eldritch Knight, and lastly the Cleric. In round 1, the Path of the Wildheart Barbarian, Anna Maul, begins her turn with a bonus action to start her Barbarian Rage. With her Rage of the Wilds, she chooses the Bear option, gaining resistance to all damage types except Force, Necrotic, Psychic, and Radiant. As part of the bonus action of starting her Rage, the Barbarian can use her Instinctive Pounce to move up to half of her speed. Anna Maul moves into melee contact with the planetar. The planetar is flying only 5 feet above the celestial platform within the Barbarian's reach. Anna Maul attacks twice with her Maul, using the Reckless Attack feature for advantage on her attack rolls, although incoming attack rolls against her will gain advantage as well. The first advantaged attack roll is 27, hitting against the planetar's armor class of 19. The Maul delivers 18 points of bludgeoning damage. The topple weapon mastery of the Maul could knock the planetar down into the prone condition. The planetar rolls a Constitution saving throw. She rolls 23 and she resists the topple. For the second attack with the Maul, the Wildheart Barbarian forgoes the advantage of the Reckless Attack. Instead, she uses the Brutal Strike option. The attack roll is 20, hitting against the armor class of 19. The Maul causes 19 bludgeoning damage. With the Brutal Strike, Anna Maul adds another 2 points of bludgeoning damage. Furthermore though, the Brutal Strike adds the Hamstring option to slow the planetar's speed by 15 feet. With the topple weapon mastery of the Maul, the planetar rolls another Constitution saving throw. She rolls 15, and she is toppled down into the prone condition. The Wildheart Barbarian, Anna Maul, stands in her position. The planetar, Saint Casca, starts her turn with 223 of her total 262 hit points. She is slowed by 15 feet due to the Barbarian's Brutal Strike, meaning that her 120 feet of flying speed is reduced to 105 feet during this turn. The planetar uses half of her movement to stand up from the prone condition. She is in melee contact with the Barbarian. She makes 3 attacks with her Radiant Sword. Saint Casca can make all 3 of her attacks with advantage due to the Barbarian's Reckless Attack earlier. The Light Cleric, Cleric Cloudburn, intervenes with her reaction to use her Warding Flare feature. The Barbarian gains 10 temporary hit points, and the first incoming attack roll will be with disadvantage, cancelling the ordinary advantage due to the Barbarian's Reckless Attack. The attack rolls with the Radiant Sword are a natural 1 for an automatic miss, then 29 with advantage, and 28 with advantage. 2 of the attacks hit against the Barbarian's armor class of 15. In total, the 2 hits cause 29 slashing damage, reduced by half with the Barbarian's damage resistance down to 14. Additionally, the Radiant Sword produces 31 radiant damage, and this damage is irresistible by the Barbarian's Rage of the Wilds. The attacks cut through the temporary hit points of the cleric's warding flare. The Wild Heart Barbarian Anna Maul stands with 78 for total 113 hit points. As a bonus action, the planetar Saint Casca uses her special feature of Divine Aid. This feature is available only 2 times per day. She casts invisibility on herself. While invisible, the planetar uses her remaining 50 feet of flying movement to fly upwards. The barbarian cannot make an opportunity attack because she cannot see the invisible planetar exiting the reach of her maul. The Eldritch Knight Fighter, Eldritch, knows the general space that her invisible opponent occupies. Saint Casca did not use the hide action, so traces of her presence can be detected. Any incoming attack rolls, however, will be with disadvantage. As a bonus action, Eldritch casts the spell Jump on herself using a first level spell slot. During the next 1 minute, once during each of her turns, the Eldritch Knight can use 10 feet of her movement to jump 30 feet. Eldritch moves toward the invisible planetar, looking upward toward the general space where the planetar is flying. The Eldritch Knight uses an interaction with an object to stow away her short sword. I am allowing that she can drop her scimitar as well, but the scimitar scatters away and falls off the edge of the celestial platform. The scimitar and the short sword are the Eldritch Knight's 2 bonded weapons. Eldritch could use a bonus action to call back her scimitar or her short sword directly into her hand. As part of the attack action, Eldritch draws out her short bow and she makes 2 attacks aiming into the general space of the planetar. She rolls with disadvantage against the invisible target. The first disadvantage attack rolls 27, hitting against the planetar's armor class of 19. The hit causes 6 piercing damage and it applies the Vex Weapon Mastery, granting advantage on the Eldritch Knight's next attack roll against this same target. The Vex advantage cancels with the disadvantage of targeting an invisible opponent. The attack roll is 24, hitting the planetar. The attack brings 10 piercing damage. Instead of applying the Vex Weapon Mastery, the Eldritch Knight uses her Tactical Mastery feature to apply the Sap Weapon Mastery, imposing disadvantage on the planetar's next attack roll. With the 2 instances of damage, the planetar should roll 2 Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration on the invisibility spell. Given her modifier bonus of plus 12, she cannot fail. She rolls 32 and 28. The concentration continues. At this point, the planetar Saint Casca retains 207 of her total 262 hit points. The Eldritch Knight Fighter decides not to use her action surge right now for making another 2 attacks. She wants to wait for an opportunity to attack without the disadvantage of targeting an invisible opponent. Eldritch uses her remaining movement to step into a different position so that she is not clustered too close together with the barbarian. The Light Domain Cleric, Clara Cloudburn, is awestruck in the celestial presence of this place. Nonetheless, she knows that she is being tested and that she must do her best with this battle. As her action, the cleric casts the spell Fireball, upcasting with a 4th level spell slot. She situates the fireball in the general vicinity of the invisible planetar without affecting her allies. The 4th level upcasting of the fireball generates 31 points of fire damage. The planetar Saint Casca rolls a dexterity saving throw to try to avoid half of the fireball damage. She rolls with advantage due to her magic resistance feature. A result of 14 fails. The planetar sustains the full amount of 31 fire damage. Now she retains 176 of her total 262 hit points. The fireball damage is enough that the planetar could lose concentration on her invisibility spell. She rolls a Constitution saving throw to try to maintain her concentration. A roll of 18 succeeds. The invisibility continues. Clara Cloudburn follows the example of the Eldritch Knight to move into a different position so that she and her allies are spread apart from each other. In round 2, the path of the Wild Heart Barbarian, Anna Maul, cannot see the invisible planetar, but she can ascertain the general space where the planetar is flying. Anna Maul rests her maul in one hand. As part of her attack action, she draws out a javelin and throws it at her flying and invisible opponent. The distance is beyond the normal range of 30 feet for throwing a javelin, imposing disadvantage, but the attack already would be with disadvantage due to the invisibility of the target. The 2 sources of disadvantage do not stack with each other. The advantage of the barbarian's reckless attack, though, does cancel with the disadvantage. Some people interpret these rules differently when multiple sources of advantage and disadvantage are present. I am allowing for the barbarian to make her 2 javelin attacks as regular attack rolls. The 2 attack rolls are 27 and 24, both hitting against the planetar's armor class of 19. In total, the 2 hits cause 26 piercing damage. The slow weapon mastery of the javelin can apply only once to a single target, and the planetar's speed is slowed by 10 feet. I should note that the barbarian could not apply her brutal strike option because this feature is not possible when a source of disadvantage exists. The 2 instances of damage are not enough to create even the possibility of the planetar losing concentration on the invisibility spell. An instance of damage would need to be at least 28 points in order for any possibility of a failure of a Constitution saving throw given the planetar's bonus of plus 12. The Wildheart Barbarian uses her movement to occupy a different position, giving fewer options for how the planetar could act next. The planetar, Saint Casca, starts her turn with 150 of her total 262 hit points. She was slowed 10 feet by the barbarian. She was sapped by the Eldritch Knight, imposing disadvantage on her next attack roll. The planetar considers to create 2 of her Holy Burst attacks that can create blasts of radiant energy, each in a radius of 20 feet. She can see, though, that the 3 heroes are dispersed just far enough apart from each other to avoid being clustered together. In this case, each radiant burst would affect only 1 target. Saint Casca decides to descend into melee contact with the Eldritch Knight. She makes 3 attacks with her Radiant Sword. The first attack roll is with disadvantage due to the sap weapon mastery applied earlier, but the disadvantage is cancelled by the advantage of the planetar's invisibility. The first attack roll is 19, ordinarily hitting against the Eldritch Knight's armor class of 17, but Eldritch uses her reaction to cast Shield with a first level spell slot. She boosts her armor class up to 22 and she blocks the attack. After making the first attack, now the planetar no longer is invisible. The next 2 attack rolls with the Radiant Sword are 26 and 19. Only 1 strike cuts through the Eldritch Knight's shield armor class of 22. The Radiant Sword causes 16 slashing damage and 22 radiant damage. The planetar, Saint Casca, uses her bonus action with her Divine Aid to cast invisibility on herself again. Now is her second and final time to use this feature today. While invisible, the planetar flies back upward, avoiding opportunity attacks and finding a position about 50 feet above the Eldritch Knight. The Eldritch Knight fighter, Eldritch, starts her turn with 29 of her total 67 hit points. Her shield spell ends at the start of her turn. Once again, the Eldritch Knight can attack with her shortbow, rolling with disadvantage against the invisible planetar. The first disadvantage attack roll is 14, missing against the planetar's armor class of 19. The second disadvantage attack roll is 21, hitting the target. The hit causes 10 piercing damage, and the Eldritch Knight applies the Vex Weapon Mastery to grant advantage on her next attack roll against the planetar before the end of her next turn. Given the planetar's Constitution saving throw bonus of plus 12, the damage of the shortbow attack could not break the concentration on the invisibility spell. The 1 hit caused some damage. Now the planetar retains 140 of her total 262 hit points. As a bonus action, the Eldritch Knight uses her second wind feature. She regains 13 hit points, now standing with 42 of her total 67 hit points. As part of the second wind feature, the Eldritch Knight could move up to half of her speed without opportunity attacks. She is content, though, with staying in her current position. The Light Domain Cleric, Clara Cloudburn, so far has been unharmed. She starts her turn with all of her 84 hit points. Clara Cloudburn ascertains that her most effective action right now is to cast another fireball, upcasting with a 4th level spell slot. Once again, she aims the fireball to affect the general area of the invisible planetar without affecting her allies. The 4th level fireball generates 39 points of fire damage. The planetar rolls a dexterity saving throw to try to avoid half of the fireball damage. She rolls with advantage with her magic resistance feature. She rolls 20 for a success, reducing the damage down to 19. Even this amount of damage is not enough for the possibility of breaking the planetar's concentration on the invisibility spell. At this time, the planetar Saint Casca retains 131 of her total 262 hit points. The Light Domain Cleric decides that she should move closer toward her allies so that she can be within range of using her Warding Flare feature and other options. In round 3, the Path of the Wildheart Barbarian, Anna Maul, starts her turn with 78 of her total 113 hit points. Once again, she throws 2 javelins at the invisible planetar. The disadvantage of the invisibility and of the long range do not stack with each other, and the advantage of the reckless attack cancels the disadvantage. The 2 attack rolls are 18 and 22. 1 javelin hits against the armor class of 19. The hit causes 11 piercing damage. The slow weapon mastery of the javelin slows the planetar's speed by 10 feet. Once again, the damage is not enough even for the possibility of breaking the planetar's concentration on the invisibility spell. The Wildheart Barbarian, Anna Mole, knows that the cleric wants for the allies to be closer together at this time, so now the barbarian does not move away from her current position. The planetar, St. Casca, starts her turn with 120 of her total 262 hit points. She can see that the cleric has moved closer with her allies, now creating more incentive for the planetar to produce her Holy Burst bombardment. Each burst occupies a 20-foot radius sphere. The first burst engulfs the cleric and the eldritch knight, producing 27 radiant damage. Dexterity saving throws possibly could reduce the damage by half. The cleric rolls 5 and fails. The eldritch knight rolls 21 and succeeds. The second Holy Burst affects the cleric and the barbarian. It generates 28 radiant damage. For the dexterity saving throws, the cleric rolls 7 and fails. The barbarian rolls with advantage of her danger sense, and a result of 14 still is a failure. The cleric and the barbarian both sustain the full amount of 28 radiant damage. With this action, the planetar loses her invisibility spell. She stays in her current position so that she can be prepared to adjust with whatever could develop next. The Eldritch Knight fighter, Eldritch, recognizes her opportunity to attack the planetar for the first time without the disadvantage of the invisible target. The Vex weapon mastery from her prior attack still applies now for advantage on her first attack roll. The advantage attack roll is a natural 20, scoring a critical hit, and the Vex applies advantage on the next attack roll. The next advantage attack roll is 26, hitting against the armor class of 19. Now the Eldritch Knight uses her action surge for another 2 attacks with her short bow. Again with the Vex advantage, the attack roll is 24, hitting the target and continuing with the Vex. The final advantage attack of this turn is another natural 20 for a second critical hit. In total, the 2 critical hits and the 2 regular hits produce 39 points of piercing damage, including the double damage dice of the critical hits. The Vex weapon mastery will continue into the Eldritch Knight's next turn. As a bonus action, Eldritch uses her second wind feature again. She regains 14 hit points, now standing with 43 of her total 67 hit points. The planetar St. Casca has sustained serious damage, now with 81 of her total 262 hit points. The light domain cleric, Clara Cloudburn, understands that she needs to deliver as much damage as possible right now, before the planetar can attack again. As her action, the light cleric casts the spell Scorching Ray, upcasting with her only 5th level spell slot. She sends 6 rays of fire streaking toward the planetar. She makes 6 attack rolls, aiming against the armor class of 19. The rolls are 15, 26, 15, 27, 28, and 27. 4 of the Scorching Rays hit. In total, the 4 rays produce 32 points of fire damage, reducing the planetar down to 49 of her total 262 hit points. At this time, the planetar St. Casca calls an end to this trial. The 3 heroes have shown that good fortunes smile upon them. With their good luck and their special powers, they just might succeed with their noble quest to rescue their friends from the fiery domain of the Arch Fiend. As promised, St. Casca provides a gift of a divine silver bell. Originally, 3 of these bells were made. One already was given to another group of heroes, but that quest ended in a disaster. Now another bell is given to these 3 heroes for their quest. Only 1 more bell remains with an unknown future. The divine silver bell is entrusted to the light domain cleric, Clara Cloudburn. The bell can be sounded once, and then any number of people of the cleric's choice who can hear the bell will be transported into the cleric's choice of a hellish domain. Sounding the bell a second time will bring the desired individuals back to this location at the Celestial Gate, and then the bell will be broken. The planetar St. Casca warns that the heroes cannot defeat the Arch Fiend. They will need to fight their way through hell to find their friends, the Bladesinger Wizard and the Devotion Paladin, and then treat them with a divine spell, such as Remove Curse or Greater Restoration, in order to free their souls from captivity. Otherwise, they will remain trapped within the domain of the Arch Fiend. The other celestial warriors here agree that the quest is noble. They know about the lost souls of the ASMR Bladesinger Sailor Moonglow and the Devotion Paladin Vonanavan. Their souls belong in the celestial heavens, yet somehow they have been claimed by the Arch Fiend through a hellbound curse. The celestial beings offer a blessing for the heroes. They gain the benefits of a long rest, and they replenish all of their resources and supplies. The Celestial Warriors provide one personal gift to each hero. The Light Domain Cleric, Clara Cloudburn, receives a Ring of Spell Storing, allowing to store up to 5 levels of spells. The Path of the Wildheart Barbarian, Anna Mole, finds that she is wearing a belt that grants extra strength, equivalent to a belt of Fire Giant strength. The Eldritch Knight Fighter, Eldritch, learns that her preferred weapon of her short sword becomes particularly sharp, now functioning as a vicious weapon that produces extra damage with each successful hit. The 3 heroes advance up to level 10. For practical purposes, I am allowing that they attune with their new magic items and prepare accordingly with the long rest that is granted. With the next episode, I will share the updated character sheets in D&D Beyond. The Arch Fiend is amused that the Bladesinger Wizard, Sailor Moonglow, and the Oath of Devotion Paladin, Vonanavan, continue to be so strong with their souls. The Arch Fiend delights in the slow game of trying to corrupt these divine souls, potentially turning them against people who they once knew in the mortal world. The Arch Fiend questions if the Bladesinger understood how the Eldritch Knight felt about their relationship. Did she truly abandon their old rivalry, or did she plot secretly for the Bladesinger's downfall and descent into this hellish domain? Similarly, with the Devotion Paladin, the Archfiend questions if the Light Domain Cleric regarded her as a threat to be dispatched. The Archfiend expects that someone will try to rescue the Bladesinger and the Paladin from their captivity here. The Archfiend will be prepared. Our story will continue with Nemesis Battles. For now, in the comment section, please share your ideas and suggestions about what could have happened differently and what could happen during other episodes. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.